All right, so for today's video, we're going to be taking a look at some of the WERA insulated screwdrivers that I have. Now, a few of these came with that belt set that I picked up a little while ago, and then some of these I did decide to go ahead and pick up just individual ones by themselves. I made a video on the unboxing of both of these. If you want to go check those out, they were both these sets were picked up from KC Tool, but I did pick these guys up. I don't typically do a lot of hot work. I'm not working around a lot of stuff that is live, but sometimes, when we're changing out a rooftop and things like that, you can't exactly always get to the breaker or things aren't labeled and you just got to go and start taking things apart. So it is nice to have some insulated screwdrivers, just as some precaution, just in case, whether I need them or not. But that's kind of why I decided to go ahead and pick these guys up. Now, I have taken a look at some of WERA screwdrivers here in the past on the YouTube with my... some of them have been the multi-interchangeable ones, and I did take a look at that belt set too that I picked up that had some of these in them, and I'm quite happy with their design, and like I said, just started using them on a regular basis. So I do have a Phillips number 1. This one does sit in that tool pouch that I got. Probably not something I use quite often, but it does come in handy. Number 1 Phillips, mainly when I'm messing around with some of the termination points for my low voltage or my thermostat wire. Those are a number 1 Phillips, hence why I'll use that. I prefer just a number 1 Phillips with a larger handle than a precision guy. So that is kind of what I use this one for. Not something I really have to worry about getting electrical shock from, but, I just kind of like the feel of the screwdriver, and plus it's red, so it kind of sticks out and is a little bit different than some of the other ones that I carry around in that pouch. Now, this 3.5 millimeter slotted, probably not one I'm going to use that much, because generally when I'm working with something this small would be for these Moloch style of plugs, where you have the little screws on them, and I prefer, rather than just a big screwdriver, I just kind of prefer to use a precision driver for this. That's a little bit smaller tip. This guy just barely fits in there. You can spin the screws on the inside of that plug, but I just like to use the more traditional, smaller precision driver for that. So this guy is probably not something that's going to see a lot of use. I don't currently have it in my tool bag or that WERA tool pouch. So this one just kind of sits around here at my house, and just, it's not something I'm going to use really at all. So we'll set that off to the side. And then I have a number 2 Phillips, which is probably one of my most used. Seems like you run a lot, and some disconnects have Phillips in them, and some of the RTUs we change out have Phillips on them, whether it's an outlet, switch, things of that nature. You always seem to run into a number 2 Phillips, so that is why I have this one. And this came with that WERA tool pouch set that I picked up a little while ago, and one of my most used probably. For like I said, I use the number 2 Phillips quite a bit, so that is that guy, and we'll set that guy off to the side. And then I did pick up a couple additional screwdrivers. I did pick up this 5.5 millimeter slotted, and I mainly picked this one up for these little lugs right here, these landing lugs, grounding lugs, things, whatever you want to call these guys. This is kind of why I picked some of these up, because majority of the disconnects that you run across are going to have lugs just like this in them. It's either a 5.5 or you can get a 6.0 slotted, and these just fit super nice into these lugs, and that's mainly what I will be using this guy for. Now, I did pick this guy up separate from that set that I picked up. That set that I picked up came with the 2 Phillips and that 3.5 millimeter slotted, this set right here, but like I said, I don't use that 3.5 mil slotted. That's why I picked up this 5.5. Now, one thing to note about at least these 3 and plus that 3.5 is these all have that laser. See if I could zoom in there. That laser etching on the tips, which is supposed to help with cam out. It's supposed to grab onto that screw and prevent you from, like I said, camming out and or stripping the head of that screw out. We'll go ahead and insert that into there. And it does do a decent job holding on to that screw. I really can't really say I've noticed any difference since using them, but that is one of the features that WEA does, or not WEA, WERA does market for these. So that is the, like I said, the 3.5 or the 5.5 millimeter. And then I picked up a couple of the combination bits. I picked up a combination 2 and a combination 1. And if you're unfamiliar with the combination bits, it's basically a square, slotted, and Phillips kind of all combined in one for those fittings that look like this, where you can either use a Phillips square or a slotted. It's kind of meant to be that all-in-one bit to kind of help prevent cam out and stripping out of that little screw on there. That is what they are for. Now, these guys don't ride in that tool pouch that I got. These just ride in my tool bag because I don't generally run across those screws that often, but I do run across them every now and then. You sometimes, on some of the outlets and plugs that you run into, they will have that on them, and that's kind of why I prefer to use them over just a standard Phillips or a slotted. I don't want to strip it out and make the next guy's job more difficult than it needs to be. So that's kind of why I decided to pick these guys up, is to use the right screwdriver for that job. Now, overall, these are, a relatively nice screwdriver. These, I don't think any of these, maybe the 5.5 does slim down a little bit, but the majority of them aren't the slimline screwdrivers that WERA offers. So if you are in need of the slimline ones, where they, can go into recessed or counterboard screw, where you have a counterboard screw or a recessed screw in them, they do sell those. I don't know if they sell them in kits or not. You might have to buy individual screwdrivers for your liking. So I'm not 100% sure what the deal is on those. I don't really need slimline drivers personally. Like I said, I'm not really running into those types of screws or those types of recessed areas, doing rooftops, electrical outlets and things like that, and heating and cooling. So for me, I could care less if I had them or not. But these are the ones that work best for me. Now, some people don't like the WERA drivers, especially when it comes down to the smaller ones or the smaller sizes. They don't like how they step down to a smaller screwdriver, especially with the guys that have a lot larger hands. They don't like how these are so small in their hands compared to when you just have, some larger screwdrivers on their hands and then you just put a smaller size bit on there. I know that is one common complaint that I've heard about WERA drivers, but for me, they seem to work fairly well, and I'm fairly happy with them. Now, one of my personal complaints with these is they do get dirty quite easily. The yellowing on here does tend to dirty up quite easily, whether if you have a little dirt on your hands or a little bit of grease or things like that, it does dirty up the screwdriver quite easily. But on the flip side of that, they are super easy to clean. You just kind of have to motivate yourself to go and clean your tools after maybe a week of using them. I know some guys clean them off after every day that they use them. Me personally, that's not something that I do. I'll clean them off every time, once, maybe twice a week, if that, depending on what I'm doing and how dirty that they do get. But like I said, I've been using the number 1 and the number 2 probably the most. I did just pick up that 5.5 and those 2 combinations, so those will be getting added to the set. But overall, for me personally, I am happy with them. I just like how they feel in my hands. Now, everyone's going to be different, so these may or may not be the right pick for you. So you might want to buy one at a time, or maybe just buy one. See how you like how it feels in your hands before you go and commit to buying a whole different, or just a whole bunch of sets of them. So that's one recommendation that I have for these. But with that being said, that's kind of all I have for this video. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to leave them down in the comments section below. And I'll do my best to leave some links down in the description below if you want to pick up some sets and things like that, or if you want to pick up some individual drivers. I'll have to see what I can do in the description below if you want to pick up some of these for yourself. But as always, thanks for watching.